Evening, everyone, and welcome to our town hall meeting with the 2019 candidates for student member of the Board of Education. Please stand as you are able and join me in saying the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Welcome to all of you here and to those of you viewing from home. My name is Jeremy Brown, and I serve as the Regional Advisor for the Frederick County Association of Student Councils. This group of student leaders meets regularly throughout the year, advocates for their fellow students, and learns the responsibilities of leadership. This group is also charged with selecting the next student member of the Board of Education. Tonight we have 5 candidates for consideration by the secondary students of Frederick County. They have been through a paper application review and an approval process. Tonight we begin the public portion of the election with our town hall meeting. Next week at this same time and station is the next step, our candidate forum. Each school will then have an opportunity to review the speeches, platforms, and candidate question and answer responses prior to casting votes. The resumes, application questions, and answers, as well as the text of this evening's candidate opening remarks, will be available on the FCPS website, fcps.org, under the Board of Education tab. Select Student Member of the Board of Education in the drop-down menu. Voting will be held online. There will be a URL and a QR code that students will be able to see and access on Channel 18, on posters in their school, and in their social studies classes. The website for voting will be active from January 17th through the end of the month on the 31st. On February 14th, the Frederick County Association of Student Councils will hold their regular General Assembly meeting. At this meeting, representatives from each school, middle and high, will cast their school's votes for the candidate with the most votes from that school. The process is similar to the electoral college system used to elect our president and allows for a more equitable distribution of votes, so each feeder pattern or school has some influence on the outcome. This is a process that has been developed to allow over 22,000 students to vote in the selection of their representative to the Board of Education. Now for this evening's activities. The candidates will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves and make their platform and position speech, and then we'll go on to questions and answers from questions from the audience. Anyone who has a question will line up and clearly state their question to our screener located behind me. When it is your turn, you may step up to the podium and ask any one of our candidates, or all of the candidates if you wish. We will alternate beginning with one candidate and then the next if it's a question for all. Once questioning is complete, the candidates will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. The candidates are seated alphabetically. Our first candidate is Melanie Andrew, a junior from Catoctin High School. Next is Grace Knorr, a junior from Tuscarora High School. In the center is Malachi Macon, a junior from Governor Thomas Johnson High School. Beside him is Iman Mansour, a junior from Urbana High School. And on my far right is Ben Mercier, a junior from Tuscarora High School. Do any of the candidates have any questions before we begin this evening? Then let's begin with our introductory speeches. Ms. Andrew, the floor is yours.
Hello to you all, and my name is Melanie Andrew, and I'm a junior at Catoctin High School. I want change. What about you? It doesn't matter what size school you are, we can all agree that the schools need changes, and school safety being the #1 priority. As a student in the Homeland Security Criminal Justice Program, I know how much I know how much that school safety means to us, and with personal experiences as well. I am well aware that I am from a small school, but just because I am, that does not mean that I don't believe in every student voices being heard. Not just for one school, but all schools, because we all need to be safe, right? If we are to address safety, let's talk about the heart of the issue, mental health. And the core of it all, bullying. A quote from Dr. Walk is, "Being bullied is not a harmless rite of passage or an intentional part of life," which is very true, but yet many students in the county deal with this. And lastly, if we're to help these students, we also need to think about the students that are not as financially as stable. Many students in our population of the county are not as financially stable as others, and there's more that we can do to help them by giving them toys, by giving families more meals and opportunities to have experiences. One small act can make someone's day. And in the end, I want to make sure that all our voices are being heard, no matter who the student is. And that is why I want to advocate for our school student safety rights as well as our voting rights. And I wish to take this not only to the Board of Education, but to take it to the Maryland legislation if possible. In the end, let's work together to make schools safer, talk about the mental health issue in our county and all around, talk about bullying issues that we have, smaller class sizes, and more. So vote for change and vote for me, Melanie Andrew, as the 2019-2020 student member of the board. Because like artist Logic has stated prior, peace, love, and positivity. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Grace?
Hello, Board of Education members and students. My name is Grace Knorr, and I am inspired every day by the students of Frederick County Public Schools. A senior from Urbana High School started a nonprofit for juvenile arthritis. Newmarket Middle School students assembled candy bags for veterans in November. A student from Linganore High School wrote an article on how to best help the homeless. The SGA of West Frederick Middle School ran a clothing drive. Some may view our generation as technology obsessed and disconnected from the real world, but I would argue that we are more powerful, more passionate, and more connected than any generation ever before. Along with learning about the history of the universe, FCPS students are intensely interested in learning about today's issues. As we solve trigonometric equations, we also seek to solve our inner turmoil. While we learn about independent clauses, we also want to learn to be independent human beings. While we are being educated on the chambers of the heart, we want to learn how to love others and ourselves. If the purpose of education is to build a better future, then we must begin to solve the problems within us before we can move forward. I believe in building stronger mental health education into the curriculum, creating safe spaces for students to go in the event of a mental health crisis, and providing more mental health professionals at schools for those who are struggling. I believe in increased diversity in staff members. I believe in broader discussions on school safety. I believe that every student matters regardless of race, class, or sexual orientation. I believe that we can tackle whatever we put our minds to. I believe in us. There are 42,789 students in Frederick County, but through technology, we can be united and have one voice. You can contact me through my email at gracieknor@gmail.com or on my campaign account at Grace for SMOB. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Malachi?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Malachi Macon, and I'm running in this election to become the next student member of the Board of Education. I want to help you all, the students, solve the problems that we face every day in school. Some of the most daunting issues and problems that I've learned about through this entire election process include the use of drugs in schools, the lack of attention pointed towards important issues that need to be discussed, like gun violence and mental health, and the amount of fights and instances of bullying that disrupt the school day and hinder some students' ability to effectively learn. One of the three core values of the mission of FCPS is to reach out to students with exceptional teaching and caring support. However, it is my belief that support given by the students themselves is more effective, which is why I support the creation and expansion of focus groups and mentorship programs in the middle and high school levels in order to not only allow students to discuss important issues and connect with others in a safe environment, but to allow students to vent their anger in a safe manner. In this way, the focus group system combats bullying, the use of drugs, and fights. At my home school, Governor Thomas Johnson High School, we have something called Patriot Hour, which is an hour and 4-minute segment of the day that allows for clubs to meet, students to eat lunch, get an extended period of tutoring time, participate in fun activities either outside or in the gym, and meet up with friends who have completely different schedules. So I feel that Patriot Hour is extremely beneficial to every student, and therefore every school with a 4-block schedule should implement this into their bell schedule, regardless of the amount of enrollment at that school. So if I am elected, then I would like to discuss these issues and present my suggested solutions to the Board of Education. However, if it is not the general opinion of you all, the students, then I shall not. This was my platform, but in reality, my platform is what you, the students, say it is. If I'm elected, then I shall humble myself and represent all of you to the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Iman?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Iman Mansour, and I'm a junior at Urbana High School. I have been a part of the FCPS school system since kindergarten. I have experienced what most students have experienced in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I know that here in Frederick County, we have a strong school system made of over 40,000 students and hundreds of faculty members, all of who create an environment that we learn and grow in. No system is perfect, and Frederick County Public Schools is no exception. With issues presented every day, it is the job of the Board of Education to tackle these problems with innovative solutions. The students are vital because it is their opinions, their problems, and their voices that are always considered. As student member, I would prioritize methods to reach all the students of FCPS. Whether it is by an online survey, visiting schools, or social media, I want to make sure students know that they have a vessel to relay their concerns to the Board of Education. A plethora of problems and issues may exist, and if elected, not only would I listen to your concerns, I would become the voice that advocates for the change on your behalf. I've had the pleasure of speaking with a variety of students throughout Frederick County, all of who are from different backgrounds. As student member of the board, I would want to make sure each and every student feels welcome to participate in academics and extracurriculars without feeling discriminated. I would work towards demolishing the language barrier so bilingual students feel more comfortable and welcome, as well as minimizing discrimination towards any group by helping the Education Board enforce more rigid policies. As well as breaking down on discrimination, I want to make sure students are prepared for life beyond high school. As a current junior, I personally have been stressed about the prospects of my future as well as my fellow peers. Whether students plan to jump straight into a career or go to college, I want to ensure that FCPS provides the materials and opportunities that will help students after they graduated, such as college fairs or college advisors or career fairs. But in order to achieve greatness in Frederick County Public Schools, I'll need your vote to make sure that every student is heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben?
Hello to everyone here and everyone watching live. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Ben Mercier, and like the rest of my fellow candidates, I am running for the position of student member of the Board of Education. To serve in this position, it will be my utmost duty to bring the issues that you, the students, face to the board's attention. No matter your background, your middle and high school experience matters. Whether you are from Newmarket Middle or Middletown High, your voice is valid and needs to be heard. It is my belief that I am the candidate that will communicate your needs the most efficiently and effectively to the Frederick County Board of Education. During the past year, it has been my goal to build connections with many of the SGAs across the county. Through attending many county and statewide SGA events, as well as many more general SGA meetings, my peers and I become a strong community of leaders and friends. We are the people who look into and advocate for our school's issues. And many of you have already started to speak out on issues you see in our community. Topics such as mental health, cultural equity, and school safety matter to the students of Frederick County as well as myself. Along with these, there are many issues that the common student faces that I just don't know about. The common truth is that students from my home school, Tuscarora, may not see the same issues that Thurmont Middle or Oakdale High have. My lack of knowledge, however, does not mean that these issues are not important, just that I have not been able to explore your concerns with the same passion that many students have. If elected, I will work diligently to communicate with each and every SGA of Frederick to provide as wide of a spectrum of views as possible to help move Frederick County toward a more positive and student-involved future. That way, no school feels underrepresented or overshadowed at a countywide level. This is my vision for next year's student member of the board, to continue the work of Paige Tolbard, Will Anderson, Carter Gibson, Sarah Perez, and many more of the student members prior, by being the liaison and advocate for all issues in our diverse and wonderful county.
Thank you, Ben. We'll now move into the question and answer portion of the evening. Do we have a first student to ask a question? When you come up to ask a question, just come to the podium, state your first and last name and where you go to school. And the next person who's going to ask a question after her, go ahead over to Christina.
Okay, so my question is, how do you plan to balance the duties of being the student member of the board with the extracurriculars and classes that you're already involved in?
Okay, we're going to ask you to repeat that. First thing you need to do is tell us your name and where you're
yes,
from.
okay. My name is Sophia. I am from Governor Thomas Johnson High School.
And now ask your question again.
And my question is, how do you plan to balance the duties of student member of the board with the extracurriculars and classes you're already involved in.
And we'll start with Grace, since Melanie went first for speeches.
Okay, well, my extracurricular activities and my grades are extremely important to me. But I see such a huge responsibility for the position of the student member of the Board of Education. And so I know that, throughout my busy schedule, I will make time for what's important to me and what's important for the good of the county. And I think that no matter what, I will put SMOB first. And, I do have extracurricular activities. I am a part of a lot, but I believe that SMOB should top my list. And I think that it's such an amazing opportunity. So,
Thank you, Malachi.
So kind of banking off of what Grace said, the position of SMOB would be my absolute top priority. The second would be school, and then everything else would be just all of the extracurricular activities. I would make time. I would try my best to keep up with everything. I'd do the essentials of all of my curriculars, but then I would focus all of my efforts into the position of SMOB because I believe it is the most important thing that I can do.
Yvonne?
Being student member of the board is a very large responsibility, one that should be a priority to any one of us who is elected. As for my scheduling, I feel like I am a very organized person. I know what to do and when to do it. I always schedule everything else around what is important at the time, and I know that putting student member of the board education meetings and events would be at the top of my list, and I would make sure to plan in advance and make sure nothing interferes. As well as the other students, I also have a lot of extracurricular activities, and as well as making sure I'm able to do the job correctly, I also want to show other students that it is possible to have a lot going on in your life, but be able to be successful in every single one of them.
Ben?
So how I view the student member of the board is, student member is the voice of every student in FCPS. And my personal voice should come after the voices of the majority, if that makes sense. So if I'm thinking about what's more important, myself and my curriculars that I'm choosing to do, such as swimming, such as running, or advocating for the issues of the students always come first in every aspect. And so, yeah, if I'm elected to be student member of the board, the roles of the student member comes first overall.
Melanie?
So I am involved in a lot, but I normally put others in front of myself. The student member of the board doesn't just attend board meetings, they also attend different things like the FCAFC meetings, they also attend the GAs, they also are a voice for our county with the state student council level, which I'm also very a part of and involved with. So that part won't be hard for me to do. The meetings, I will make sure I have off every time we have a meeting. I always make sure that my schedule fits with what's more important to me. So student member of the board, if I'm elected, will be probably my #1 priority. And then, of course, I will have my academics I will take care of, which with many of my academic classes I'm taking next year, I won't have class every day. So it would be easy for me to reach out to schools, kind of have free blocks to go to schools possibly and talk to the students and everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Next question?
Hello, I'm Dominic Barbagallo, and I go to Linganore High School. And I was wondering, how do you plan on taking the middle and elementary schools' views into mind to the board?
We'll start with Malachi this time.
So particularly with the middle school's views, there are SGAs that go on during middle school. So if you could just reach out to each individual school's SGA, communicate with them, possibly work with the SGA and trying to get them to issue surveys to the school. That way you can get statistics on students' opinions on certain issues. And on the elementary level, one would just have to experience it firsthand. So that would involve going to after-school events, maybe art clubs, field days, and really the brothers and sisters of anyone else who's in the middle and high school levels.
Very good, Iman.
I agree that it is a good idea to meet with middle school SGAs, as most of the students in the middle school SGAs would most likely do it when they approach the high school level. I also believe that it is important to talk to the students who are not involved in SGA. I myself am not part of my school's SGA, but I am in a variety of other clubs that have specific focuses. So there are students who have goals that they would like to achieve, but not through an SGA. And I believe the best way to do this is have them connect with clubs or other options in the high school, the feeder high school that they will be attending. These high schoolers will help the middle schoolers, guide them, show them how it's done, and maybe even teach them. As for elementary school students, it is a little difficult, seeing as they're much younger, but as the other candidates said, it is a good idea to go to each school's events, such as art clubs after school, but even during the school day, as many elementary school students would like to speak to you and see what it's like after 5th grade.
Ben?
So, in terms of elementary school students, bring elementary students' views to the board, my main focus would be to meet with the PTA and the people involved with that, because they usually know their students' concerns, and it's much easier to understand the issues that students in elementary schools are facing by talking with their parents, because younger students like to spout about everything that happened in their day, and I know because I used to be like that, and I still am. With middle school, however, I agree with my candidates, going to their meetings and meeting with their advisors and going to just any sort of event that's middle school and open to the public is crucial to figuring out what they're talking about, what they're thinking, and that would be my way of bringing their views to the board.
Melanie?
So I actually currently volunteer at an elementary school in the Catoctin feeder pattern. I volunteer at the primary school for Thermont. So I already kind of know issues that little kids deal with. And I've talked to teachers, multiple teachers, not just the teacher I volunteer for, and I've gotten their viewpoints. I also would want to reach out to the PTA. They are a huge part of it. They have administrators, they have parents and teachers. So you get a little bit of everything from each kind of branch of the elementary school levels. With the middle school, it is a little bit easier. A lot of middle schoolers nowadays are getting technology, having own private cell phone, social media. So it would be easy to reach out to them via social media, but you also have to take into consideration that not all of them do. So you would have to make school visits, talk to them, see what their problems are, talk to SGA advisors and things like that.
Grace?
Well, I remember when I was in middle school, and I actually watched this mob candidate forum like we're doing today, and I was thinking to myself how much I wanted my voice to be heard. And I think that there are so many issues in elementary school, middle school, that high schoolers almost forget about. And there are certain things that I remember about my middle school experience that don't affect me now, but really affected me at the time. And so I think, like the other candidates, being involved with the students, whether that's through SGA, whether that's through different clubs, or whether that's through just visiting school events to meet the typical student. I think that every student has something important to say. I think every student deserves to have their voice spoken. And so I want to be that voice. And I want every student to feel like they have that opportunity. Like Melanie, I also volunteer at an elementary school with Titan Reading Buddies, so I read to kids every month. And I develop relationships with them. And so I think through that, I'm able to kind of get a glimpse into what school life is in elementary school. And so I think that could be really helpful. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.
I'm Mitch Mayer. I go to Newmarket Middle, and this is to everybody. What would your main priority be, or goal be as the student member of the board?
Iman, we'll start with you.
Well, there are a lot of issues that I would like to work towards, but my main goal would be what the students want. I can't state that now because I only know a handful of the problems that a few experience when there are a plethora of more. But if I get elected as student member of the board, I would want to make sure that I know exactly what it is that the students want me to deal with at that moment, and I would work towards that problem with the Board of Education.
Ben?
Thank you, Iman. Iman, I was about to say almost word for word what you're going to say. My main goal is, like I've said before, and I've been saying all along, is what the students, all students from Catoctin to Brunswick to Linganore, all students, what they feel is their most pressing and most needed issue to be fixed. And so I cannot say with certainty what my main goal as SMOB, as the elected SMOB of Frederick County would be, but in talking with all of the schools and figuring out that one thing that everyone wants the SMOB to talk about, then I would feel confident stating my main goal.
Nolly?
So I think they've kind of touched on it, but kind of just to narrow it down to maybe one issue that a lot of students have. Like I stated in my opening, school safety is a huge problem. I mean, everyone thinks about it nowadays, especially with the rise of social media and people seeing this every day when they get on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. So it's such a ubiquitous problem that we are having nowadays, and it's something that a lot of students are talking about, thinking about, because they don't want that to happen to them. And you don't think it's going to happen to you until it happens to you. I can say that from a firsthand experience. So it's a problem that we need to work on, and I think other students would agree. So if I would narrow it down just to one that I think every student feels needs to be changed, is the school safety.
So every student's voice deserves to be heard. But throughout my campaign, I've asked a bunch of students around the county what they would like to see changed. And the top three things were school safety, mental health, and more diverse staff. And I thought about how I can address each of these issues because those are the ones that everyone seems to care about the most, and those are issues that are dear to my heart too. As far as mental health goes, I really want to increase professionals who stay at schools to support kids with their psychological needs. I want to increase mental health education in, PE or health classes, and I just want to destigmatize mental illness. School safety, I've thought about. I've done a lot of research on different ways that doors can be blocked in the event of an emergency. And so I'm in the process of figuring this out, but I've come up with a frame that can be placed over the window of each classroom that's bulletproof, it's cheap, it's affordable, it's efficient. And so I've been really working on that. I care about it. And then lastly would be the diverse staff. And I'll admit, I hadn't even really thought about it, but once everyone was telling me that they wanted a more diverse staff, I was like, wow. I haven't really had many teachers who, diverge from the typical white person. And so that came to my mind. So I would work towards that. I don't know what I could do, but I would do it, whatever it took. So those are the three issues that I would like to address.
Malachi?
So my main goal would be the end goal, the reason why we're all here, and that's to make school a better place. We're in school from like age 3 to about age 18, so that's just 15 years straight of learning a ton of things that are gonna help us for the rest of our life. Why not enjoy it and, get rid of the problems that make it less enjoyable, like bullying, fights, the amount of stress that can go on due to this sheer amount of homework that students have to deal with every night. That's my main goal as student member if I'm elected.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch.
My name is Hannah Morin, and I go to Newmarket Middle School. I have a question for Malachi. What would your mentorship program look like if it were to be implemented?
So my mentorship program, if it were to be implemented, it would involve the help of a counselor in selecting a particular student to be a mentor, and then that mentor to seek someone who they can be a mentor to. In other words, someone could also go to a counselor, and if they need help, then the counselor can recommend that particular mentor to that student. That mentor could just spend time throughout the entire day with their mentee, if that's the proper word, and through that experience, the mentor and the person being mentored can build a relationship, and through that relationship, the mentor can communicate problems that the person being mentored has to the counselors and the proper staff. That way, he kind of acts as a middleman, and that problem is dealt with. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah.
Grace touched on it briefly a few minutes ago, but
Tell us who you are and where you're
oh,
from.
I'm Madeline Cordy. I'm from Newmarket Middle School, and I know Grace touched on this a few minutes ago. But how would you guys plan to advocate for mental health?
Ben, your turn to go first.
Thank you, Madeline. Like she said, mental health, like Grace said, is definitely one of the things that many people in our county want the student member of the board to advocate for. And I see mental health as an issue that, yes, the board need. I myself struggle from mental health. I have anxiety, like many of the students, like Grace, like many of the students in the school systems. So it's having attended board meetings and seeing what they are doing now. Just yesterday, they had people from Decoding Dyslexia. Wow. Decoding Dyslexia, come and talk to them one-on-one, basically, and tell them of the issues. And they've been coming here for many sessions, if that makes sense. So as a member of the Board of Ed, I would help the board to see these issues that are going on, to work with these programs like Decoding Dyslexia to give them the support that they need, if that makes sense. And there are many other programs that I would help to advocate for to bring to the board's attention about how important they all are. And yeah.
I know that there's not a lot of legislation on it statewide, and I don't believe there's a lot of policy on it either countywide. If there is any kind of policy, I haven't really seen anything around, but we could expand on that policy. We can either just kind of expand on it at the countywide, or we can try and take it statewide, like I said. Another thing is that we need to advocate students that it's all right to have these mental illnesses. I've always been very open at my school that I deal with very severe anxiety and depression, and I'm very advocating towards making it safer for students to actually be able to tell the students and feel comfortable about it, so they don't feel like they're kind of hiding something from another. We can create support groups in the schools. We can have other students get around, like a kid from Brunswick and a kid from Leonore can get together and kind of talk about the issues. Not just take it to a board level, but just take it directly to the students and to the schools.
So over the summer, I actually ran a camp for young girls with anxiety, and it was one of the most awesome experiences in my life. But I think taking that amazing experience where people feel open and they feel like they can be open about their issues without being vulnerable. I think it's so powerful, and so I think we could expand that to the school system. I'm also in the process of creating a club at my school for mental health awareness. I think anything that brings awareness is just so powerful because it destigmatizes something that so many people are afraid to talk about. Also, I've been thinking about, I know we've made positive progress for the LGBTQ plus students of the county, and we have the safe space stars on teachers' doors so that if a student feels unsafe, they can go to that teacher in the event of a crisis. I think we could do the same thing for mental health. I think teachers could agree, like, hey, I'm willing to help a student if they're in need during a mental health crisis, and so we could have stickers on the doors for that. I just have so many ideas. I'm so passionate about it. But yeah, I think we could totally make positive progress.
Malachi?
May you restate the question, please?
How are you guys planning to advocate for mental health?
So advocating for mental health, I said this in my speech earlier, it goes back to the focus groups and the mentorship program. In the focus groups particularly, the result of those focus groups would be that the students could be representatives at their schools and rather not representatives of any particular group. Wow, that's contradictory. They wouldn't be representatives of that particular focus group, but rather just be leaders and examples. They would seek out those who, their fellow students who need help at their particular schools. Mental health would be discussed at those focus groups. Those representatives would get the word out, hopefully, and that's basically my entire plan for advocating.
Iman?
It's interesting because currently in school I'm doing an assignment where I had to research a lot of problems that occur with mental health. And so what I came to notice was that many people don't know that they could have a mental health problem, and a lot of people go unnoticed. So as everyone else said before, I agree with everything. I think it's important to make sure that the students feel safe and feel comfortable with themselves. And I really do believe that making sure that everyone is educated on the topic of exactly what mental health is, how it affects the individual, those are important questions that everyone should be able to answer when they're asked a question about mental health. And providing the education on the topic would be the best way to respond to any mental health problem that occurs.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Hello, I'm Sophia from Governor Thomas Johnson High School. So my question has to do with, even though the student member of the board sits on the Board of Education, you don't yet have a voting vote in the decisions. So what leadership experiences have you had that will prepare you to be a strong voice for the students, even though you do not have an actual vote?
And we'll start with Melanie.
All right, so like I've stated before, I am very up there and very involved with student council at the state level. And our legislation session is actually coming up, and we talk about things about student member of the board. We have a whole presentation for new delegates coming. And I got to learn a lot of new things about different county student member of the boards and how they run things. And I think I would try and take that from the schools that have partial voting rights or even full voting rights, and take that and kind of advocate it to the other students to try and get them to see that it's something that we should have, that we should be treated just like any other adult sitting up on the board, because we're not immature in any kind of way. I mean, looking at all these people up here, they are probably one of the most professional people I've ever met that are my age. So we can take stuff from other counties and take that over. Another thing I do is I just try and advocate around my school about a lot of things, whether it's for the LGBTQ community or anything like that. So student voting rights would be another thing that I could advocate to the students at my school and even other schools as well. So.
Grace.
So my leadership experience hasn't been the most traditional, but I have been able to lead people in a really personal way. So, like I said, I ran the camp for girls with anxiety. I'm an officer for a volunteer club at my school. And over the summer, I went to Haiti by myself and taught a bunch of students. And so I'm not, class president, but I have been able to go in with the people and lead the people and let them lead me. And so I think that experience has helped me find a way of interacting with others and hearing their views and taking that and funneling it out so that I can be a voice for everyone. So as far as voting rights go, I totally believe in at least partial voting rights. I think that the student member of the board has such a good perspective because they're in high school, they're in Frederick County Public Schools, they see firsthand what the issues are. And so my hope would be to, make the board aware of those issues, so.
Malachi?
So through the NJRTC program that's featured at several high schools in Frederick County, I have had several leadership opportunities. Specifically, recently in December 11th, we had an area manager inspection, which is basically when Captain Jim Daniels, which is the manager for every NJROTC unit in Maryland and Virginia, he comes and inspects every person in the entire unit. And I was asked to give a presentation directly to him to represent one of our competitive teams. So I'm quite unafraid to discuss issues and represent people when it comes to adults. And that's my leadership experience.
Iman?
So as with leadership experiences, I have dabbled around for my high school career. I am involved in multiple clubs and other extracurricular activities in which I have leadership positions. But I think the most important one that I've learned from was the She Leads program created by the Frederick County Commission for Women. And to touch off what Grace said earlier, one of the most important aspects of being a leader that they taught me was it's not about telling others what to do or having said something and expecting them to follow it. It's about connecting with others. It's about learning from each other, and the most important is to listen to what they have to say. So I believe as a student member of the board, any one of us as a candidate, our most important goal as a leader would be to listen to the students of Frederick County. Our whole purpose is to make sure that the problems they see are addressed. And I do believe that making sure you understand why those problems are important to them is the best way to go about the situation.
Thank you, Sophie. So if I understand your question correctly, the leadership experience that I've gotten the most out of that would benefit me working with the board would definitely be my involvement with the SGA as both a representative and Tuscarora's secretary. The roles of the secretary are a whole lot like the roles of the Board of Ed, of the SMOB behind the scenes. With SMOB, you are given many, many documents to review and many, many people to meet, along with having to talk with students and get their views on certain topics and stuff. So having held this position of secretary, I've learned to sort through many, many many documents of anything and make sure to keep everything organized, if that makes sense. So my greatest aspect that I can bring to the board is my organization.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Kendall. I'm currently a senior at Urbana High School, and I'm also currently serving as the president of the Frederick County Association of Student Councils. I bring you a question from a junior at Frederick High School. What is your take on the recycling issue, and how will you improve it?
Grace, your turn to go first.
Wow, so I was recently made aware of how much paper we use every year, and how much that affects the environment. And I joined the environmental club at the beginning of the year, and we were discussing this, and it's a huge issue. And if we're trying to make the world better, we're only hurting it through our lack of recycling. We're only hurting it through our lack of being environmentally friendly. And so I think that if we pushed legislation, if we pushed ideas that promote recycling and being environmentally friendly, the county could really benefit. I don't know exactly how, and I need to be more educated before I can answer thoroughly, but I do agree that it's a huge issue and it needs to be addressed.
Malachi?
So with the big recycling issue, one thing that could possibly be done is the student member of the board could work to influence the budget in a way that more money is invested on recycling bins. That way, each and every classroom has recycling bins available for students to throw it away. There's also the substitution of Google Classroom, so teachers can use less paper overall in worksheets, tests, any other classwork that is assigned.
Iman?
So recently, I had the pleasure of speaking to an individual who came to one of the Interact Club meetings at Urbana High School from the Rotary of Frederick, and he spoke about recycling with such passion that I was moved. One of the issues that he discussed was, as we grow up, we slowly forget that we should recycle. I mean, we get lazy, we don't want to get up and throw it in the recycling bin when we could just toss it in the trash next to us. So one of the things he mentioned was it's good to start getting children educated on the problem early on, so it's a skill that they have for the rest of their lives. And I really do believe that to solve the issue of recycling or to improve it for our world, we need to start with the elementary schools. I know currently we do emphasize the importance of recycling, but we should also emphasize why it is important to recycle, because they may just learn we need to toss this into the recycling bin, but they're never taught why. And as they grow up, they'll learn that it's ruining the environment, but they aren't taught to care about the environment. So to address the issues, we have to start at the roots.
Ben?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
What is your take on the recycling issue and how will you improve it?
So my personal take on the recycling issue is, it comes from something of experience. Almost in every classroom that I walk into, there is a huge recycling bin, huge blue bin, and it sometimes, actually most of the time, it's bigger than the actual trash can in the room. So it's much more convenient to dump your trash into the blue recycling bin because it's right there and it's large. So in my opinion, my personal opinion, I would advocate to the board for smaller bins and larger trash cans, if that makes sense. However, I can't directly tell the board, hey, this is what we need fixed as student member of the board. I can only influence and voice the opinion of the students. But if you're talking about what you should do for what students should do, I definitely agree with Iman. People need to care about it before they can throw the trash in the right bin or to recycle what actually is recycled. So education, like Iman said, is crucial at all levels, and like I said, the trash cans are a little large. I don't know if you guys would agree, but that's just my personal opinion. Thank you.
Melanie?
My biology teacher last year showed us this video of why we should recycle, and it showed us a bunch of harmful effects of not recycling. And I guess I never really thought about it until she started lecturing us on it. So you see all the time that animals are getting harmed by this, and I think that's a huge factor of what kind of pushes like society today to talk about it in the first place. I think, like everyone else has said, started at elementary school. I know it was a big thing in my elementary school. They did like competitions for who had the most recycling, who brought in the most cans and stuff like that. You know, some things for the younger kids, you got to make it fun. So if we can kind of make it into a way that we kind of basically drill it into their head that, hey, recycling is good for the environment, but it can also be fun in a sorts, that could help as well.
Grace?
I already went.
You did go. You started a foot. Thank you. Trying to keep track on paper. But next, this will actually be our last question before we move to closing statements.
Hi, I'm Dominic Barbagallo from Linganore, and I had a question about the calendar. What are your views on the proposed calendar for the 2019-2020 year?
So this time we'll start with Malachi.
So, I haven't actually researched much on the calendar, so I can't really give my views on how the calendar's been created, but I don't know what to say. I haven't researched it, so.
Okay. Iman?
So it may have been last year or 2 years ago where a previous student member of the board came to my school and actually asked us questions about the school calendar. And I remember that a majority of the students, they were not happy with the new schedule and how it flowed. I think one of the main issues is that we are constantly working throughout the day, Monday through Friday, and that it's nice to have a break once in a while. And we were asked, would we like to add on more days to an extended break? But most of the students were opposed to that. They actually wanted a random break in the middle of the week. So as to how I would approach the school calendar, I would advocate to the student Board of Education to consider how students are working throughout the school week and how they may want to break off once in a while. I also believe that it's important to consider all holidays that are given off. I know we have some like teacher work days that were given off to be near the end of the term, but there are also holidays in which students still have to go to school. I know I personally celebrate a holiday, and when it falls on a weekday, I have to choose between going to school or taking off. So it's important to consider that we need to make sure that any holiday that is important to a student of any religion is taken into consideration when planning the school calendar, and not just the major holidays that fall into a break or a majority of people celebrate.
Ben?
To be clear, you were asking about our personal views on the upcoming next school year's calendar, correct?
Correct.
I personally had mixed feelings when I saw the calendar. I was very happy that they were giving us back the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, because to be honest, my family lives very far away, so if I wanted to go visit them, then I have to take that day off anyways. So it's nice to like know that we have the day to go visit, because it's a 12-hour drive. I can't do that after school. And however, I was not super happy with the proposed spring break. I have been all my life. I love having that week off because it's like we get to hang. It's like our winter vacation just before right before we go on vacation, which I've liked. But I understand why they've chosen to limit it to just I think it's 5 days. It might be 4. I don't quite remember because of AP testing, and I do understand why they've made that decision. However, I'm not a full proponent of the issue myself.
I actually just saw the calendar today, and I kind of saw the dates we had off and everything like that. I agree with Ben. We need to have that Wednesday off, and I'm glad they brought that back. We do start kind of early again. We start on September 3rd next year, and they gave us 8 snow days. I personally feel like we shouldn't have that many snow days. Just with the recent years, we haven't had that much bad weather. And last year we had overly a lot of snow days, and this year we have a lot of snow days, and I believe we've only used 1 this year, and I think we used like 1 or 2 last year. So we really haven't used snow days in the past years. I guess they do it as a safety precaution, but I think they could cut back like the snow days to like 5 days and possibly try and give families that go away for spring break a little bit more time and leniency. I do know, I believe they took away some of the Jewish holidays this year that we normally have off, which a lot of people will have to take off of school for those days. I know they mixed Fair Day with a Jewish holiday this past year and last year, and not a lot of people were happy with that because normally we like to have it on separate days. It gives a lot of the students that are in harder classes a little bit of a break, kind of get caught up on everything like that. With the day we get back from spring break, I'm pleased with just because of the AP testing, because I am an AP student. That will help me, but I feel like they should give us like a couple, like push it back a couple days. So there's some things I like about it and some things that I don't, and I think we need to work with the calendar committee more than we already do. I know the past student member of the board, Sarah Perez, she was a part of that committee, and she really worked closely with that. So we could possibly get in touch with past student member of the boards, see how they worked with it.
Grace?
So I've always been taught to work really hard and do my best, but also take time to recharge. And so I think it's really difficult for a lot of students who push themselves and work really hard throughout the year to, have to go, and then finally have this summer break, but not have breaks throughout the year. And so I'm not saying that, we need to have a day off every week, but I think we could include more days off throughout the school year. Maybe, decrease a little bit of summer. I feel like we actually start, summer break pretty late, but we also start the school year pretty late. So I think if we kind of shifted it back slightly, we'd have more time in June rather than having so much time in August, and then a little bit of September before Labor Day. But I think a lot of students really want to experience, the heart of summer during June, and we miss that being in school. But we're in school until Labor Day. So I think if we shifted it back, added a few days throughout the year so that students could, recharge, reset, it would be really beneficial.
Thank you.
Thank you. And in the interest of full disclosure, Dominic does serve on the calendar committee this year, so he is related to that question. Thank you all for your honest and thoughtful answers to tonight's questions. Thank you also to the students who joined us this evening to ask questions of the candidates. We'll now have our closing statements. Reminder that you each have 1 minute for your statement, and we'll start again with Melanie.
All right. So the big problems that students want to focus on, as well as I want to take to the board, are school safety, mental health, bullying, and helping those that are not as financially stable. These are topics that not many students like to bring up due to the harshness and kind of different viewpoints on everything with it, but I feel like it's something that we need to bring up because it's something that students either fear every day or feel like we need to talk more about. We don't get the opportunity to learn about mental health like we should, and we should expand the curriculum like they are trying to do now. We need to talk more about school safety and how we can keep our students safe and what we can do to make the school safer. And we also need to talk about the students that are not as financially stable and help them kind of get back on their feet because those students make a huge part of our population. In the end, I hope you all vote for me. I hope you all vote for change and vote for me, Melanie Andrew, for the 2019-2020 student member of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Grace?
In the last 4 years, I've had the rare opportunity to be a part of 3 very different educational experiences: Monocacy Valley Montessori School, Urbana High School, and Tuscarora High School. I've been immersed in very diverse school cultures and have become aware of both the assets and issues around the county. But a common theme I've seen in every school is the student body's desire to be heard. Every person in this county knows something I don't. Every person has faced battles that I haven't. Every person has gifts I don't have, and every person has the ability to create powerful change. Because of this, I would love to be the bridge connecting the wisdom of the Board of Education and the voices of the student body. I really want to hear what you have to say. Thank you all for the generosity of your time. I believe in us.
Thank you, Grace. Malachi?
I am very grateful for the opportunity to answer all of your questions about my platform here tonight. Remember, my platform is about the creation of focus groups and mentorship programs in order to combat big issues like mental health, drug use, bullying, and how important subjects are ignored, as well as the implementation of a 1-hour lunch schedule to provide for more tutoring time. But, again, I say, my platform is what you all say it is. So I will humble myself, and in the same humble manner, I tell you not to specifically vote for me, but with fair consideration of my platform, to vote for the candidate who you think is most qualified, who you want to represent you. I would like to thank everyone who is attending and watching at home for your time.
Thank you. Iman?
Student member of the board is a position that gives students power. It allows the students of Frederick County to contribute, engage, and advocate for their rights and concerns. The students are the most important when it comes to decisions made by the Board of Education, as every decision impacts the students in some ways. As student member of the board, I would want to make sure that each and every student is considered. I would want to make sure that their voices are heard, and I would want Frederick County Public Schools to excel in years to come. Here in Frederick County, we have a diverse group of students of different ethnicities, religions, opinions, and passions. It is the job of the Board of Education to benefit each and every student so they may grow as individuals and in life. The role of student member of the board is crucial. As SMOB, I would voice concerns and issues arisen by the student population to the Board of Education. I want to make sure each student is heard and that they have the opportunity and resources to exceed. If you believe in advocating for your concerns and achieving your aspirations, I want you to vote for the person you believe would make the best change.
Thank you. Ben?
Thank you again to everyone who came out to support us today, whether sitting in the audience or watching from home. The 5 of us truly do value your support in our endeavor. If it weren't for many of you, we wouldn't be where we are now. Again, my name is Ben Mercier, a candidate from Tuscarora High School, and I will be your vessel of change and voice to the Board of Education. My voice is your voice, and your issues are mine. We are one Frederick County who needs someone able to speak out and voice all opinions, whether large or small, for all cultures, orientations, and backgrounds. If elected, I will do everything in my power to give a platform for you, the students, to stand on with the board. So I ask you once more, to all of you watching, for whatever candidate you support, go out and vote. And while you're at it, tell your friends to go vote too. Every vote counts, and every vote counts from all middle school and high schools of Frederick County. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for attending this evening or for tuning in online. This show will be repeated on Channel 18 and can be found on our webpage. Text of the opening speeches from tonight will also be included on the fcps.org website. Please join us next week at this same time on Thursday evening for our candidate forum. See you then, and good night.